I dropped out of school when I was 17, and since then I've been obsessed with the process of building online businesses since, and I've had numerous different businesses myself. The first business was an in-person personal training business that I then eventually took online, and I tell you what, the process of growing an online business was completely different to an in-person one. I had to learn all of the processes, all of the skills, all of the systems needed in order to grow a profitable online business. And throughout that process, I had to develop numerous different lead magnets. I've run multiple different lead magnets myself, and since then I've run hundreds of different lead magnets with hundreds of different fitness coaches since. And it all comes back to one thing. If we want to get volume into lead magnets, the best lead magnet that we can run is a calorie calculator. There's not necessarily a huge amount of emotional buy-in to that lead magnet, but there is always a huge amount of volume through that. And when we're looking at building out our marketing channels, we can't just rely on our top of funnel and just getting new followers. We can't just rely on our bottom of funnel. We need to build out a middle of funnel so that we actually have an asset away from social media channels, like an email list that we can constantly remarket to. And using a calorie calculator is one of the best ways in order to do that, because then we can then have a value exchange. A value exchange where we get contact details in return for giving them something, such as their calories being calculated. And a lot of the time when we look at a lead magnet, most leads won't do anything with them. They'll download a lead magnet, a PDF, a recipe guide, think it looks good, park it, and do absolutely nothing with it. Whereas with a calorie calculator, at least they then get something actionable that they can implement straight away. So here's how we set up a calorie calculator that's fully automated. You literally don't lift a finger. You just focus on getting leads into your DMs and their calories will be calculated for you automatically. Now, the first step to do this is having 2 automations. And the cool thing with this is we can have this running across Facebook, across Instagram, across SMS, across WhatsApp, and even across TikTok too. Now, when we come into Instagram, what we want to do is we want to have 2 different automations. One automation that will gather contact details and their data in order for us to then calculate their calories afterwards. The second automation that will calculate the calories and send it back to them. So the way that this will work is inside automation number 1, we then basically have triggers along the top. Triggers when people comment certain things on posts, triggers when people DM us certain keywords. Off the back of that, we then reply to their comments if they comment on posts. And you're probably going to say, well, that's going to sound robotic. No, it's not, because what we're going to do is we're going to have a variety of different comments. So then the system will randomly pick one of these to reply to them. So then it's not always going to look robotic and have the same comment under the post. It's going to have variety. And variety means people won't think it's robotic and people will think that you're actually doing it yourself. What we then do is we update them on a pipeline and we tag them. So from a tracking perspective, we can see how many conversions the calorie calculator has had and how much money it has generated for us from a business point of view. What we then do though is we go back to them and we then ultimately ask them for their email. We capture their email, and if they haven't replied to us after an hour, we then follow up with them again to bump the message up their inbox to capture their email. What we then do as a system, we then check if they have sent us their email. If they haven't, we then let them know that it's not quite an accurate email. Can you just double confirm it? And then we check. And then if they have sent us email, it then confirms. We don't want to give them things for free in return for nothing. It's a value exchange. The value exchange is getting their contact details in return for calculating their calories. Now, once we have their email, we go back to them and we share a form for them to submit. Now, on that form that they're going to submit all of their data, their body metrics, their height, their age, their weight, their gender, all of those key metrics. Now, what we want to do though is in business, there's naturally going to be leaky buckets. The majority of business owners are not ready for more leads. They think they have a lead problem. They don't. They have a systems problem. If they put more leads in, nothing's going to happen to their business because they don't have a way of converting them. So what we want to do is we want to fix all of the holes in the buckets. We can just focus on putting traffic in. The worst thing in business is when you have a profitable way of generating leads, but you can't scale it because the system's broken and then you have to stop. When you then restart, it doesn't work the same. The minute something works, we just want to be able to scale budget and be aggressive with it. And the way that we do that is we fix the holes in the bucket first. Now, what we want to then do is after we've sent them the form for them to submit their body metrics, we then essentially have a follow-up system. If they haven't submitted the form or they haven't replied to us within 2 hours, we follow up. If they haven't replied or submitted the form within 10 hours, we follow up again. What this then means is then they then submit their metrics, and there's a far higher percentage of people moving through that transition. A lot of the time we don't really need more leads, we just need to fix the holes in the bucket, and then it means that more leads flow through to the next stage, which then means that we get more sales from the same amount of leads and from less ad spend. Now, when they submit that form, what then happens is it triggers the second automation. In this second automation, you will then see that we have a huge formula in place to ultimately calculate all of their targets. Looks confusing, it's a big automation, but I'll explain it and show you how to do it. So when their form's ultimately submitted, it will pull them out of the first automation because we don't want the follow-ups to happen anymore. It will wait 2 minutes so that then the system can go through the full formula to process things. It will find the contact, it will match up the emails, it will save the email from the Instagram message, it will take the email from the form, match them together, know that that's the same person, then send the message back to them. On the form, we ask them if they want to submit metric or imperial metrics, if they're a male or female, and then the automation splits, and it just splits down and then goes through the process of calculating the appropriate calories and the appropriate macros off the back of all of their data. You can see it goes through the formula, calculates their protein targets, then based on their activity level, it will calculate the target calories, and then based off of if they say they want to build muscle, they want to maintain, or they want to lose fat, it will then calculate the appropriate calories. What it will then do is it will then send them back a DM, and in that DM it will send them through all of their targets, their maintenance calories, their aggressive fat loss calories, moderate and slow, and then the same for building muscle and the same for maintenance. And then at the bottom it will then ask them a question to then start a conversation such as, are you then familiar with tracking? The whole goal of this is that they then reply. We have an AI system that handles the rest of the conversation like a human and sets the call into an appointment. Or a human could jump in and then ultimately set that into a call as well. What we then also do is we also then send them out an email too. So then in the email, they also then get all of their targets as well. So then it means that they're not going to miss anything at all. They're in our email list, they've been given their targets, and those targets are incredibly accurate because it's split specific based off their activity levels, based off their goals, based off their genders, based off if they're imperial or metric. And then it means that all of their calories are sent back to them. That then means that all you do is you focus on just pumping more traffic into the front end, and the system does the heavy lifting for you on the back end. Now, I think a lot of people, when they look at automations and they look at systems, they're worried that it will look robotic and that it's not really possible to do things that a human would. All that calculating calories is a formula, and a human, we go through the same formula. So whatever the formula is that you calculate, because I know there's different formulas out there to calculate calories, to calculate protein, to calculate macros, you'll just go through those same steps. And you can see here that we calculate appropriately. We update a contact field. We calculate appropriately. We update the contact. Calculate appropriately, update the contact. And then what it means is we're then in a really easy position at the end of it to then update their specific macros. So for example, we'd then update that, right, their target calories are this for maintenance, but they said they wanted to build muscle, so let's multiply it and update that. Then we now know what their aggressive building muscle calories would be. So then down in the automation down here, we can then link that custom field. So then it means that it's really easy. It's just step by step. It's a formula, and then it's a step-by-step process and a filter that the automation works through in order to send that data back to someone. As a result, you've then built an incredibly profitable lead gen system, and we just drive traffic into it and the system does the workload for you. It always amazes me what's possible with automations, and if you're not automating simple things like this, you're adding additional workload to your plate that simply doesn't need to happen.